Hello and welcome to another episode of the To Baldly Go podcast, and thank you for joining me on my mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to baldly go where so many have gone before. My name is Aaron, and I am watching Star Trek for the first time from the beginning, then discussing with my wife Abby and our friend Nate. This week, we are discussing the next 3 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation Season 3, The Enemy, The Price, and The Vengeance Factor. Now, a quick note. In this episode, we make some references to it being our 50th episode. For all you note takers out there, you will clearly recall that back in episode 38, I mentioned that I had messed up my normal process and basically lost a recording, which I later found. However, that threw off our counts, and what I thought was episode 49 was our actual episode 50. But I already titled this one the 50th, and it's not like I can really change it, so here we are. To Baldly Go episode 51, the 50th. Engage. Yeah, let's talk about Star Trek. This is our 50th episode that we're recording. I
Aaron still hates
can't
Star Trek. I
I
don't get
can't
it.
believe that we
Took him
have.
50 episodes to realize that.
Oh no, we are not 50 podcast episodes. We are well over 100 episodes into all of the Star Trek series. I mean, probably in the area of about 150 or so when you count all 22 episodes of the animated series that some of us
Some of
suffered
us,
through. Um,
Some of us are
but yeah.
smarter than others of us by choosing
Uh,
to not watch
but
those.
50 episodes. This has been a lot of fun. So yeah, this week we do have one special Star Trek connection among the 3 of us, which I don't know if you know what it might be at all, Nate, but we'll have a
you
little
teased it, and I
yeah.
don't
We'll
think
have
I
a
know.
little Star Trek connection that'll come up later in this episode.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
So, all right. So, should we just kick it off with the first episode we watched this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
And that is after Geordi is stranded on a storm-ravaged planet, the crew's attempts to rescue him are hindered by an aggressive Romulan warship in The Enemy. So, Abby, what'd you think of this one?
I liked it. I enjoyed it. It had some moments that obviously were difficult, but for the most part, I thought it was intriguing. I thought it was had good diplomacy in it. It also had good, we may not actually get him back. There was a potential of war. And Aaron, please note, Picard did not surrender the Enterprise, though they were in battle. So, or almost in battle. So there we go. It was a really good episode.
He doesn't
I'm glad we addressed
always
that
surrender
proactively.
it, but he has
Exactly.
thus
We got to
far
get this out there
surrendered
because
it.
Aaron's going to say Picard's just trying to give him away.
No, only when he does, which has happened so
Well,
far
it
2
did
more
not.
times than Kirk did. So far.
So,
So far.
Okay, Abby, what's your
But no, I
rating?
thought it
What's
was
your
great.
rating on this one?
I liked it. I gave it an 8.
Okay. Nate, how about you?
um, I didn't necessarily expect this, and maybe it's because we in terms of the calendar we took a significant break between this episode and the last one we recorded because of the holidays and work schedules and all that nonsense, right? But getting back into it, um, this episode I think is a really, really great example of what Star Trek is.
Thank
Um,
you.
in that you've
Hmm.
got a really interesting story, you've got real stakes on different tiers, right? I mean, you have the stakes of whether or not Geordi can make it off the planet alive or not, but you've also got the stakes of an intergalactic war, right? Does the Federation go to war with the Romulans over what's happening. Um, you've got the conflict of Worf with Romulans and kind of how that's personal for him. You've got all these different layers that are all woven together really, really well. And I think it makes for a really fantastic episode. So I actually gave it a 9.
All right.
You expressed it so well. I want to, can I increase my score?
You can.
I'm gonna go up to an 8.5 because I totally forgot about the wharf piece of this with the um that was a whole interesting thing. And it was very
Mhm.
like I didn't necessarily like that part, but it was very enthralling. That was difficult. That was an ethical
And
difficulty.
not what you not how you expected it to turn out. Because I think the
Correct.
trope would have been you push him and you push him and you push him until he either gives in and does it or you force him to do it.
Right. They
And
find the
neither one
light
of those
and
things
they
happened.
end up making the right call and have this
Yeah.
heart-changing decision. Not, no, he did.
Yeah. Instead, you break the mold and you basically have Worf dig his heels in and say, absolutely not, and the Romulan dies.
Yeah, I agree. Aaron, about you?
Hmm.
He disliked the
So
episode. 4.5.
No, about that
I thought
episode.
I thought that a lot of this episode seemed to follow a formula. There wasn't much in it on initial thought that was really all that surprising. And really, I can't bullshit around it any more than that. I thought this episode was fantastic. I thought it was great. My first note after when I start jotting down my thoughts on the episode after my bullet points of quotes and whatever happened in it was easy 8 for this one. Easy. My just watching it, I was like, this is a great episode. Um, I could even see bumping it up to a 9 possibly. We'll see if I talk myself into it. But yeah, I thought it was a great episode. It was a great use of the time that they had. Like you said, they had the two stories going on, the A plot and the B plot. They just meshed together
Well, and
perfectly.
arguably the C plot, because I would say
You had
Worf is kind of a C plot. Geordi is a
yeah,
B plot, and the overall like here come the Romulans is kind of A plot,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I guess I would agree to that. It meshed together so well. It came together. This was a I don't know if we could have asked for much better of an episode to come back to after a few weeks away
Yeah,
without watching it. Uh,
agreed.
I watched it again this morning. I was trying to get through all the episodes. This is the only one I did get through again, but it was still just really, really good. Um, yeah, an excellent episode. And then, so after I wrote some notes saying the episode felt kind of predictable. It felt like, okay, of course, there's another Romulan on the planet. Oh, there he is. Of course, Geordi's gonna get there. He's gonna convince the Romulan to work with him, and they'll get to the beacon, and everything's gonna be fine in the end. And of course, it was. So I thought there's not really that much surprising. However, it was so well executed, none of that mattered.
Yep.
And then I was like, you know, there is something a little surprising. Just like you said, Worf didn't change his mind to
Yeah.
help the dying Romulan. It's
And
like,
I had forgotten about that.
and that is something that, yeah, we are so conditioned to see that, like, of course, they will come around and make the quote unquote right decision at the end, but Worf didn't. And it, yeah, we didn't see that. And I thought that was a very, very interesting point. And that Worf felt, and we see the juxtaposition though, because Geordi and Bakra were the exact opposite of that. They were the, if we don't work together and find a way through this, we both die. And
Mhm.
you see the juxtaposition, not just Worf and Geordi, but also Bakra and was it Patak with Worf, because he's there dying and he was just like, come closer so I can put my hands around your throat and like have that be how I die. So it was just that was a really well done part of it. And it it may seem like Worf's refusal is a character flaw almost, and maybe it is, but I think it makes him a lot more compelling. He feels more real because that
I agree.
was a
That's a good word for it.
it
Compelling.
yeah, because you see his actions toward the Romulan, he's really controlled by his emotions because he's just like Romulans killed my family, fuck this guy. And he's
Yep.
stuck by it. But that's really like an emotional decision. But I'm not sure if it was at the same time because he was just he made a deliberate decision. It wasn't like it was some rash decision to kill the
No,
Romulan or
it was
anything.
well thought out.
He was like, I am absolutely not going to participate in this.
He had
End
plenty
of
of time to
discussion.
think it and didn't.
Yep. So
And two,
he knew the ramifications and still stuck to his position. So I don't know, maybe it was a rational decision with an emotional base, if that's even a thing. But yeah, I thought so much of yeah, everything in this episode was just awesome.
I love the scene. I just pulled it up here where Crusher pulls him into her office to tell him that he's a compatible donor. And he goes, "There's absolutely no risk to you. You did understand that was the purpose of all the testing." And Worf says, "I have no objection to tests.
Hmm?
You have an objection to being a donor?" Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I understand your feelings about the Romulans, but this is not the time or place. If you had seen them kill your parents, you would understand, Doctor. It is always the time and place for those feelings. This
You
Romulan
know,
murder your parents, and you are the only one who can save his life. Then he will die.
that
Mm-hmm.
whole Beverly forcing this issue, though, really rubbed me wrong in this episode, which, as Aaron said, it's compelling because it's not the cookie cutter, like, oh, happy, good feelings kind of thing we normally will see in these episodes. It really gave you this kind of like, ew, icky response. And not that I think Worf was doing the right thing or wrong thing. I'm not judging on that at all, but I'm saying, what is the efficacy of a doctor not only saying, like, saying your choice is wrong, you don't get to have this choice, and continuing to pester him on it, but
Yep.
then to also be like, fine, but when he dies, I'm calling you back here and you're going to watch him die. And I'm like, wow, that line was way the hell back there, Beverly. What the hell are you doing? That would be like the equivalent of organ donors and things like that nowadays, and being like, no, and then continuing to harass them for 2 weeks about it. Well, fine, come over here and watch this kid died because you didn't donate the heart. Like,
Right.
I get it. It's sad for one person always in that situation, but you do not get to harass. And it's interesting that I don't see with other medical things within Star Trek. And granted, I can't remember enough about other doctors within the series, truthfully, to speak to that. But Beverly seems to struggle with mental health with her patients. I don't know if she just leaves that entirely to Troi, but she's very emotional a lot of the times and is not very professional in her stuff. So she flies off the handle a lot if you go back and look. So she's like, "Oh my gosh, this is happening. How can you let this happen, Kirk?" Picard, and she's always the one. Even Picard's had to yell at her,
Yeah.
"Get yourself under control, doctor." So
Well, I mean, he tells her even in this episode to basically leave it alone, and she
he
doesn't
does.
completely listen, but she does.
That was after all of these things.
Ha
This is after she already talked to the captain, like convinced him to do this, and he
Yep,
was
but she
close.
still calls him into the sick bay to watch him die. Like, so she doesn't completely let it go, but she does stop
No,
saying,
Did she? I thought he was dead when she called him
No,
in. Oh, I don't remember,
because
but
there's a conversation between Crusher and Picard.
it said he's already dead, right?
No, before that, where
Oh,
Crusher was asking him to force Worf to,
right. I remember that part.
and Picard said, "It's his decision. I'm not going to force him to do anything, and you need to respect that."
But he later on tells her, stop harassing Mr. Worf and trying to solicit his help. There was a part where he says that, stop trying to solicit Worf.
Yeah,
And her
that's
response is, too late. He's already
before he
dead.
dies.
I
Huh,
think it's when
he
Picard
was
is kind
already
of
dead.
making his final appeal because
Yeah.
he tells Worf, I don't want to order you, but I beg you to volunteer. So, I mean, Picard was making the same kind of plea for Worf to do it, but at the same time wasn't going to force him. Um,
Oh, you're right, Abby. I had that slightly out of order.
Yeah, I'm reading this here. I don't want to order you, but I ask you, I beg you to volunteer. I cannot. Lieutenant, like he was gonna do it. He was really struggling to not give the order by using the rank, sir. That will be all. And then he calls Crusher and he goes, Picard to Crusher, go ahead. Do not continue to enlist the cooperation of Lieutenant Worf. Flat out, no
Yep,
stops.
just
You do
stop.
not get to keep harassing him about this. I won't have to, Captain. The Romulan has died. That line in and of itself, she like that calls into question if she would even have followed that, or well, I don't even have
For
to.
sure. Yeah.
Like borderline disrespectful. So I found that really a tough plot C to watch because it was really sad. Like there was no winner in that situation. Worf's still sad because he's thinking about his family. The
Mhm.
Romulan still dies. There's still hate everywhere. We got the risk of the Enterprise now. The Romulan is dead. But then we've got these characters outside of that, like tertiarily, Picard, Crusher and things like that, that really had to show their colors in a different way. And that was really hard for them as well. So, but I didn't appreciate Beverly, and this wouldn't be the first time that we have a problem with consent within this universe.
Yep.
And that, I mean, I don't know if it's different in military versus that, but it's a military organization. We keep coming back to this question. Is it
Yeah.
military
I
or
mean,
not? So can you order someone? Can someone from the military order somebody else to give up a kidney? Like, I mean, so where is that line? So
we're talking a little bit different than giving it up a kidney or
I'm
heart.
using the extreme just for the
Yeah.
sake of whatever,
It's
but
blood, but so it's not like it's going to have any impact on Worf at all. But I also like I'm not saying that that makes her actions right, and I'm not saying that that makes Worf's actions wrong. I just think it's interesting that the writers wrote it in such a way that that's how it happened. Uh,
right,
because again, the trope would be at the 11th hour he would change his mind or be forced to do it.
correct.
That's the trope. And for once we see, a trope like that get broken. And I'm okay with that. I loved it. I thought it was a great
I
album.
agree. I agree. Best line of the show though?
Yep.
I never lie with sand in my shoes.
I did like that.
Oh, Geordi. I
I
was like, this is amazing.
I
And
did.
oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. I'm gonna bash Crusher one more time. She had the worst line of the show this time. At the very beginning, when they beam up the Romulan on the stretch, beam the Romulan up and they put him on the stretcher. She literally walks in transporter room, get him to sick bay. Like, where else did you think they were gonna bring him, Doctor? Like, what?
Yep.
Like, come on.
I think
Bad dialogue.
the second best line of that episode came shortly before the best line, which is after the guy knocks LaForge out, after Bakra does. Geordi wakes up. Guy looks and goes, "You are my prisoner." And Geordi goes, "Right. Congratulations. Surely a strategic triumph for the Romulan Empire." Like,
See,
Gotta love Geordi.
I liked when Geordi and Bakro were talking, and Geordi's talking about his visor and how without it he's blind, and Bakra says, "How did this happen?" And Geordi, "I was born that way." Bakra, "And your parents let you live?" And Geordi's like, "What? What kind of question is that? Of course they let me live." Bakra, No wonder your race is weak. You waste time and resources on defective children. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, like wow, all right.
So the one issue I kind of have with this episode, and I sort of picked up a little bit in the rewatch of it, but is there ever an explanation regarding why the Romulans were there? Because they weren't, that's not
No,
in the neutral zone, is it? That's in
no, it's on
Federation
the
space.
Federation side of the border.
So it's on the Federation side of the border. They crashed a ship and
Yep.
then destroyed
One
it.
man ship.
Yeah. Yep. So, and then I did hear when Picard is talking to the Romulan captain, was it Tomalak? Tomalak?
Yeah, it's a lot.
And he refers to a slight navigational error,
Yes.
which Picard, hang on, let me look up the line Picard had. Yeah. So a slight navigational error, nearly half a light year past the neutral zone.
Yeah.
And then just, I assure you, Captain, no aggression was intended. But yeah, do they just kind of not explain, or is it just Romulans are assholes and would invade Federation territory and then feel compelled to say, hey, and now you have to give our guys back, or you
Right.
are responsible for starting a war?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a plot hole. I think it's intentional.
Hmm.
I think they offered a what they knew wasn't extremely plausible, but an explanation.
It seems like they offered it a slight navigational error as a bullshit answer, though.
Yeah,
Oh,
but no,
that's 100%.
but it was a very diplomatic answer that everybody knew was a bullshit answer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that Tomalak believes that Picard was just going to accept that and move on. And so what he did was, slide that in there and then try and cover it up with all the other give me my people back, you
Hmm.
motherfucker, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, and so that he could keep the attention away from the why, right? I think he deliberately structured every communication that he had with the Enterprise in such a way to avoid the why, up until the point where he could take Bakra and go.
Hmm.
Oh, I got the thumbs up. Hey, for being on the Mac, you can't see it; it's blurry. Uh,
Did find it interesting the way they built out a little bit more, not specific lore or history of it, but they just leave those indicators that there is this greater lore and history that are those kind of almost throwaway lines that they can have, but could open stuff up in the future. Now, stuff that may never come up again, but in that scene where they just finished talking to Tamalak, and uh, so Riker says it obviously wasn't pilot's error. I think it demands a response from us. And
yep,
Picard says, but we must measure our response carefully, or history may remember Galorndon Core along with Pearl Harbor and Station Salem 1 as the stage for a bloody preamble to war. Now,
yep,
maybe Station Salem 1 is some historical thing that I'm unaware of, but my what I felt there is they're going to throw a real example out there of Pearl Harbor, which everybody
yep,
knows,
yep,
and then something that is just the something that they could explore that story at some point. Whatever Salem or Station Salem 1 is was a preamble to war. And I find that I love those little just almost Easter eggs of a sort that they can put in there that maybe nothing comes of it, but now they've got an option of something they can address.
yeah. And
It's
I
like
looked it up. It's not from anything else. It was literally only referenced in this
yeah.
episode. you are supposed to lump it in with something recognizable
Yep.
with Pearl Harbor.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I find that I
Yeah.
like when they have stuff like that, even if it's not fully developed now, just the fact that it could be developed at some point. It's almost like in the Expanse books, they talk about the butcher of Anderson Station, I think, or the butcher of some station, and then you meet
Yep.
him and you hear a little bit of the history, but then they added a short story or a novella of that story. Um,
Hmm.
so just that it builds up the world and has some mystery to it, or at least that knowledge that there is depth to the world they built, and I find I really enjoy that piece of a lot of this, even though I'm sure there's tons of it that I miss. Um, Hearing things like that, I don't know, I enjoy it. Um,
I agree.
but
Good
yeah,
one.
I thought this episode was great. I really enjoyed it. Um, Yeah. I thought the Geordi, like I said, the Geordi storyline kind of followed that path that you expect. You expect, okay, they're enemies, they're going to find a way to work together and everything's going to work out and all of that. And that's exactly what happened with Geordi. But then you get that juxtaposition with not just Worf, but the other Romulan, and it was just
Yeah.
so well executed. It was an
Worked.
excellent episode. Hell, I'll bump it up to a 9. This episode was great. It was amazing. Nah, it was better than great.
Yeah,
Good
me too.
pressure.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I give it a 9 too.
All right. Nines across the board.
Nines across the board. I was looking up the director on this one. Has anyone else done their homework on that?
No.
I have it in front of me. David Carson.
David
Has he
Carson.
directed other
Um,
things? I mean,
he has directed four things within Next Generation. He also directed Generations, the
oh,
movie.
interesting. Did
Yes,
know
and
that.
multiple episodes of Deep Space Nine. But I just went and looked at all the rankings for the episodes that he did within
Yep.
Next Gen, and it's consistent. He is by far one of the
Oh,
best or most
I don't want
approved
to
of
spoil anything,
writers.
but I just saw the next episode in the series that he directs that we'll be watching in a few weeks,
Yeah,
and I agree.
good. It was
Um,
good. So
uh-huh.
that's just it. So he clearly has the flavor of Star Trek. So
Hmm.
there's the personality, there's the personal piece of it, there's the diplomatic piece of it, and then there's the broad storyline of it advancing space exploration side of it. So he really does encompass that really well.
Yep. I love it. That's awesome. Um, I had two other things that I thought were interesting. One of them was only going to be interesting to me and maybe the random, person who listens to this podcast. But I am always happy when I see Andreas Katsoulis on the screen. He plays Tomalak. He also plays arguably one of the best characters of any sci-fi TV show ever, because he was a main character in Babylon 5. And he plays the character Jakar, which is probably the best character in that entire show. Um, and I love everything he does. He's awesome as Tomalak, and I don't know. I had to throw that in there because I think he's great. Um, the other thing I thought was interesting was doing a callback to like season one. At one point early in the episode, Picard was on the bridge, and he had Riker and Troi kind of at either side of him, kind of feeding him their thoughts and things like that. And I had this moment of, I think we might have touched on this, but I don't know how deep we got. But like, they are two members of Picard's chorus. So if we go back to that episode with the diplomat who is deaf,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and he had his three
Yeah.
people that, you know, wandered around that represented different parts of him and spoke for different parts of him. I
Yeah.
really felt for some reason in this episode, like that was embodied in that moment of having Riker and Troi kind of flanking him and representing two disparate but related parts of Picard's own psyche.
And that is always her seat too, and
Yeah,
always
and it's
Riker's
just, I
seats.
don't know, it was a
Yeah.
really cool moment that just kind of struck me out of nowhere. It was
Oh,
very early. It was shortly after the credits. Um, don't even know if I could find the line quickly, and probably not worth it. So I also wondered if LeVar Burton hated filming some of those scenes in like the mud and the muck. Like, how brutal was that probably to film?
Wow. It was brutal until Riker says, I had to go into the tar monster.
Yeah, that's fair.
so gross.
So
All right.
those were my thoughts on that.
Any good trivia on this one, or just move on to the next episode?
Couple little ones. This is the first time since the first season we see Beverly Crusher wearing her hair long again. Um, this is the first episode to begin on the surface of a planet,
Hmm.
which I thought was interesting. Uh, Unlike all other third season and beyond uniforms for primary characters, Dr. Crusher is wearing one that zips in the front.
Hmm.
So then it's this one I thought was interesting. Commander Patak's name is never said on screen, only listed in the ending credits. As such, its pronunciation is not known, but phonetically it would appear suspiciously similar to the Klingon curse word Patak, often used as a derogatory term for a dishonorable, cowardly, or otherwise unlikable person.
Hmm.
So
Fitting.
there's that. And I thought this was super interesting when I heard it, and goes back to the bulk of the conversation we've had about this. So originally, Patak was going to survive, and the writers were trying to come up with a valid reason for Worf to save Patak's life. Michael Piller
Okay.
convinced them that it would be entirely in accordance with Worf's character to let Patak die.
That's the actor who played Patak.
No, Michael Piller is the showrunner for season three.
Yeah, good job him.
Yeah, good
Just
call.
good
Yeah,
I
call.
feel like
100%.
I feel like that decision made the episode
Hmm.
much stronger because
Hmm.
it did go against, while so much of the episode did seem to follow formulas and tropes, really, really well executed. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. It it made the episode seem maybe more real because it wasn't this just happy ending where everything got all tied up, but there was still enough of that that it didn't leave some, it didn't feel unresolved. So it felt completely resolved, but also not the way you would necessarily expect.
Well, and I think, the other two parts of it being very predictable are very predictable because that's typically how these stories are written. But it's
Right.
also very predictable in how we would expect the Federation to react in those scenarios, right? You would expect Geordi or anyone else to be like, you know what, if we're gonna get out of this alive, we gotta work together and try and figure that out. You would expect that Picard or anyone else sitting in the captain's chair would use every bit of diplomacy he could to prevent
Hmm.
escalation. You would expect all of those things. And then in the middle of it, you drop the thing you wouldn't expect.
Hmm. It
So
was, yeah, it was such a well executed episode. It
I'll
was
agree.
fantastic. Great episode to come back after a couple weeks away. Like I said before, which nice segue into our next episode here.
Yeah, let's segue right through.
All right, in which Counselor Troi is swept off her feet by a dashing delegate that uses unethical methods to conduct his business on board the USS Enterprise in episode 8, The Price. Nate, what'd you think of this one?
Oh, God, this is such a bad episode.
Thank you. It was absolutely miserable.
I
And I was like,
probably
is this like I was hoping it wasn't like a girl thing where I actually hate
no,
this thing.
there is. I think very little redeeming about any of the plot
Oh,
in this episode. The Troi plot is awful.
this guy
The
is just yuck the
the
whole
the
time.
the wormhole plot is stupid. Um, I don't know. I don't
I
think I
dislike the Ferengi, so it's not good for me.
I mean, I'll be honest that I almost had the least problem with the Ferengis, simply because I knew what I was getting. They're at least predictable. I mean, they behave in the way you would expect them to behave.
If
Um,
you've watched Nick's Deep Space Nine,
maybe,
which I
but
have not. So now they're just like the
that's
annoying people
fair.
in the
You're
show.
not wrong.
There's no
That's a
like
really great
redeeming, like
point.
you've had redeeming characters within your Ferengi
Yes.
contacts where you like some Ferengis. Whereas I'm just like, they are the most annoying aliens in
Yeah, I
space.
mean, they do kind of roll
They
in.
are the petulant children of the galaxy.
So, I mean, I guess I gave it a 5. I don't that might be too high. I think at this moment I'm probably going to stick with the 5. Um, but I couldn't wait for this episode to be over and move on to something else, and I was very disappointed that this is what followed a freaking amazing episode. And
Yeah.
we've said it before, like you have to have the bad episodes to really appreciate the good episodes. But boo,
They
just
nailed it with this one.
boo. Yeah, a little too hard on that one.
S-
Yeah,
So it's funny because going in, I see what my rating is, and I'm just like, how far off am I gonna be from them? And I'm going even into the last episode, like, man, I thought this episode kicked ass. So what are they gonna say? And like we're right in line with each other. And then I'm looking at this one thinking like, I did not think it was very good at all. And I'm just waiting for you guys to come out and just be like, and this episode is great. And so when you're just like so when you start talking, I'm just like, oh shit, did I overrate this one at a 5? Because I also gave it a 5, and then you're talking, I'm just like, oh, maybe I should downgrade it to a 4.
I
But
mean, I will say,
I'm with you on this one. It was just not good. It felt way too long. The storylines were stupid. There were moments that made me chuckle, and I think that's probably why I gave it a 5.
yeah, there were
I
some
don't
good
so
lines in
far
there.
so far I don't really care for the Ferengi that much, but
I get
their
it.
their insistence on needing chairs and then saying that fine, fine, just have your Klingon servant get us some chairs.
That was very funny.
That was
I
fantastic.
enjoyed that.
I laughed at that. And I think it's that, and then when Geordi and Data are going through the wormhole and Data turns to Geordi. I wrote it down. Where is it?
Yeah,
Um
there is a bright side, Jordy. You will
yeah,
have me to
you'll
talk
have
to.
me to talk to. And
That
Geordi's
was
just like,
very funny.
And Geordi's just like, oh, what have I done? I Those moments stuck out to me as like, okay, this was pretty good. But while the Ferengi I thought were pretty funny with the chairs, the absolutely over the top reaction when the wormhole moved or closed on them, and they're just like, oh, it that was so bad. It
But
was
that's how they
so
are, though.
dumb.
They tell me if I'm wrong, Nate. Like
I
that
mean,
didn't
that
bother
is
me because I feel like Ferengi are like
example of how
over
they
the
are
It
top,
was
very
Yeah, it
boisterous,
exuberant.
I'm
enthusiastic.
I'm
Yeah.
no I'm no Ferengi expert from like the 4 episodes we've seen them in so far. For I
They
don't know
just
how
have
many, but it's
not
not all that many. But
They're
to
that
have
even seemed
melodramatic.
over the top for them. It's like when I've said Fast and Furious 9 was absurd for a Fast and Furious movie. Like
to
that reaction seemed over the top for Ferengi. Was my read on it. But yeah, there were moments that made me laugh. At the very end, I one of the notes I wrote was "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned," because Troi just went scorched earth on him.
Ah, she did.
But I
But
did so I feel like this episode could have been good, maybe, but I don't know what would have made it good. They probably would have had to change a whole lot that you wouldn't even recognize
I
it as
know
this
how it
episode.
could have been better.
I'm
Because
not
this is
saying better, I'm saying good.
okay. This could have been good if they had number one knocked off some of just the weird, creepy shit, but focused
Mm.
more on the ethics of the empathic ability as it relates to negotiations. And that was like they kept like flirting with it,
Yeah.
like getting right up to it and then like taking a hard right turn away from it all the way up until the end. And even Troy's kind of like outing of um
Felt
what
dirty to her.
yeah,
Raw.
like it just that still didn't do a whole lot to dive into the ethics of that. I think that could have been an interesting thing to do.
Yeah. And I think it is interesting, and I thought it was uncomfortable when he basically called her out for effectively doing
Yeah, the
exactly
same
what he
thing.
was doing and trying to take the moral high ground on it because she felt justified, which to be fair, so did
So did
he.
he.
So I thought
He's
that
not wrong in
was
that, right? I
no,
mean, it's a Big Lebowski moment. He's not wrong. He's just an asshole.
yeah. And the point or what I wrote, the note that I made was it was an interesting ethical discussion about how much information you provide to your adversaries. And Rawl wasn't entirely wrong, as uncomfortable as it was. Like, it wasn't a comfortable scene. It wasn't a comfortable conversation to observe.
Yep.
But yeah, like you said, he wasn't wrong. He was just an asshole.
Now, it probably was wrong to basically manipulate everything with or
Oh yeah.
without the empathic abilities, right? Setting things up with the Ferengi to kind of steer things in one way or another, or create
Hmm.
this, this agreement under false pretenses and all that. I mean, he was definitely way out of line in other ways. But again, this could have been explored more because Troy does this all the time.
Hmm.
It is one of the benefits that she brings to Picard is her ability to do this, especially in diplomatic scenarios.
Hmm.
He's lying. Like, so is it really that different? I don't know that it is.
Yeah.
It's a definite gray area, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
I don't think he was very smart though either. Like she had had the conversation with him. He knows that she can read things, yet he still tried to pull something where he knew she would know the intentions of it. And I don't know why he thought that would be successful when
he
she could tell,
may
oh, they're acting. Like
he may have been
that's her
trying to
whole
play
job.
her. He may have been trying to play her though, to say like you're taking this stance that it's not okay to do what I'm doing, but for you to say something about it is to do exactly what I'm doing that you have just condemned.
So you think he was
So
playing the long game on that
he
then?
I don't know if he was bluffing or if he was just playing the game of like I have less morals than you do, so I will win because you are not willing to play the game in the way that I want to play it.
Hmm.
I think that may have been the approach he was taking, thinking that he could be so upfront about what he was doing, but because she found it so reprehensible that he understood that for her to stop him, she would have to do exactly what he was doing,
Hmm.
which she ended up doing.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
Um,
interesting. Interesting moral ethics conversation on that one. Was she justified in doing so, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a really hard time on this one seeing the plot. I didn't give mine on it. I was like 4. Like, ew. Because this guy, right from like the first 10 minutes of this episode, had me going, ew, fuck
Yeah.
you.
I mean,
Like,
easy
like
for
I mean, I had a really hard time with it because it's like one of the first things he says is, "Oh, much better." When he looks at her, I'm like, "Oh, fuck you all the
well,
way."
what I mean, he shows up
Like,
with another woman,
he's
sees
such a
Troi, and is like, "You can
dick.
go." Like,
Right.
bye-bye.
Well,
And she's
and
like,
then
"What
he's
happened to him?" Oh, I sent her home. Like,
oh, and then he
like,
touches her hair,
oh,
which is
yes.
arguably one of the most intimate things you can do to someone. You don't touch other people's hair. And then she's just like, being petted. I'm like, ew. The guy was just a creeper. He'd end up on 60 Minutes, I think, if this was in current time. So I had a really hard time not just being grossed out by that guy the entire
Mhm.
episode. And I feel like they were trying a little bit of Marina Sirtis is hot. We got to take advantage of that a little bit here. That's what it felt like.
For sure. We
Were
we
they
haven't done
trying,
anything sexually
I
charged
don't
in a
know,
while, so
were
this
they
is
trying to hide the fact that he was a creeper? Or were they trying to not present it that way? Because I thought yeah, it was just like, this is creepy and weird.
She seemed
But
to like it though, so I didn't think it was supposed to be
yeah.
weird to her, like or weird.
I mean, she was all in
yeah,
Yeah,
the
she was all
outset.
for it.
There was no
So
resistance and like,
so I don't think he meant he was I think he was supposed to be something she liked, not like he's creepy. So I think it was just and I don't know if that's an 80s difference, like is that how they talked in the 80s? I don't know, but please, babe, don't ever say much better when I get dressed to go out to dinner.
yeah,
okay.
there are better things to say than that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird. I also just was like, was it? Is he the one? He orders. He goes computer champagne, and she goes for two. I'm like, well, no shit. There's just gonna be one glass. Like only one of you is gonna have champagne. Like I don't understand. Um,
Of the
yeah.
synthahol that's not going to do anything anyway, so they're just
Right.
drinking gray duck or cold duck.
Yeah, Troy, what about your traveling companion? My traveling companion is traveling. I sent her home. Like, bye-bye.
You were cuter.
Just terrible episode.
Gross, just so gross and creepy. It was like a bar scene.
Yeah, I
I have
don't know.
nothing left to say on this one. Who is the director of this one?
Yeah. I don't know. I
Rob, he also directed Shades of Grey, which we loved. Um,
There's a
and
clip show,
Manhunt,
right?
which we had. Yeah, that's the clip show. So, I
That's
mean, he
the
wasn't set up for success there at
Yeah.
all. But Manhunt, which we were middling on. Abby actually liked Manhunt. She gave that one an 8.
we did a ton of episodes of Next Gen. Holy crap.
Well, looking at the writer, so the writer is Hannah Louise Shearer, and she's done other episodes. She did Pen
We did Measure
Pals,
of a Man.
which we did. We had mixed feelings on.
Oh, it's the
Um,
writer. Yeah, you're right. It's not the directing, it's the writer.
When the Bow Breaks, we also weren't huge fans of. That was written by her. I think that's it of what we've seen so far. She might have others after that.
She did an episode of Deep Space Nine.
Well, there you go. Which one?
Which
Does
one
it say
was
what
it?
title?
I'm trying to pull it up. Hold on.
Okay. I'm just curious. I probably won't remember it based on the title alone, but I'm curious.
Hueless.
Oh, no way. I know that episode.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just watched that episode. That's like season 1 episode 6 or 7. I've been rewatching DS9 because
1993. So whenever that was. Who's Richard Danis? How many episodes did he do? He did 2 episodes. He did 8 episodes of Next Gen. Did he work separately? Oh, he did a ton. So the other writer did a ton. He did Booby Trap. So the episode
okay.
right before this, The Enemy, he did
Uh,
the one after this, season 3, episode 8. that the next one? No, the Vengeance Factor.
No, we're doing
Yeah, he
that's
did.
9.
Yeah, he did that one too. He's the executive story editor. So I don't know what that means, but
We're in the writing room, maybe. I don't know.
hmm, I don't know. Terrible.
Yeah,
Just terrible.
just a bad episode.
Nice try. Try again.
Yeah.
Even the trivia. So I will say, not that it's a good episode, not that it should be an episode that, or not that it's a good scene or a scene that we should like hail, but the opening scene of Crusher and Troi in the workout room together is like one of the most iconic episode or scenes of Next Gen. Also, like one of the most made fun of scenes of the two of them rocking back and forth, stretching in their cat suits. And Katie happened to be walking in the room as I started it, and she looks at it and she says, "Really?" Yeah. Um, but it is funny in that regard because it's so awful and so dumb that it really sets the tone for the entire episode at that point.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yep. All right.
All right. Should we move
Trivia?
on?
You want one or two bits of trivia?
Sure.
Yep. So the exercise room is a redress of part of main engineering. The pool table is removed and mirrors erected, one to hide the master systems display, and the other at the opposite end to hide the rest of the engineering set.
Play.
Um, see, the age of the character Devanoni Rao was given in his computer file as 41, which is a full decade older than actor Matt McCoy playing him. This is common in the Star Trek universe, where most characters' ages are roughly 10 years above that of the actors playing them. This is to represent increases in the human lifespan caused by scientific and medical advances contained in Star Trek's vision of the future.
Interesting.
Uh,
Like they always say, 41 is the new 31.
Absolutely. That's it. That's it. The only things that are even remotely interesting about the trivia.
All right.
Did Marina Sirtis like this episode?
It doesn't say. I don't know. I hope not. She tends
I'm
to not
curious. She
creepy.
tends to not like the ones where she was made the chick. She wanted to be like the scientist, right? I think I've seen an interview with
I
her
mean,
where
she
she's
wanted to
like,
have a meaningful impact on the story,
right.
the object of attention.
Sirtis, like, what is it? The Price?
Yeah.
Okay, Robert Shear had an interview with her. Hold on.
Yep.
They've got a commentary on this. I'm trying to find it. Well, I click on the link and it's not bringing me to the actual interview. It just brought me to like the summary of the whole episode. So I'm trying to see if I can find it. There was the funny line about the lemon. The
Yeah,
Federation
the
could end up
lemons.
owning a proverbial lemon.
Yep.
Proverbial lemon, sir? Later, Data. Aye, sir. Yeah, that gym scene was well, oh, that was so cringy. Who needs rationale? Who needs rational when your toes curl up?
Hmm.
Beverly Crusher. Um, Michael Pilner remarked, one of the best scripts we had. If you think, I think if you listen to that show and don't watch, you can really have fun with it. I really thought it was just it was a dis it, I really thought it was a disappointing episode. It didn't make it, and it was a great show as the servicing character of Troi. It was quite a wonderful vehicle, and she was marvelous.
Yeah. All right, Michael, I gotta disagree with you there. I usually don't disagree.
Michael Pilner commented, it was never meant to be outrageous television. We got quite a few letters from outraged people after it aired. I listened very carefully to those complaints.
Okay.
The director said, the thing I remember most about the episode is working so closely with Marina because I hadn't really worked with her that extensively. There was a real human quality to her and the show. That's all I got.
Disagree, but okay.
All right. Should we look at the next episode?
Yes, please.
All right. The crew's attempts to mediate a violent dispute between warring clans are sabotaged by a mysterious assassin. Or is it sabotage? in The Vengeance Factor, episode 9 of season 3. What do you think of this one?
I think
Who
you
are
should
you?
go first this time.
Oh.
We've both gone first each.
Aaron doesn't want to. He's
I
afraid that he like.
No, I
I
thought this
know
was
it. He
a
should have to go first every time.
I thought this was a good episode. I gave it a 7. Uh, I
Okay.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting enough. Um, the scope of the episode was like huge. There were wide-ranging sets. It felt a bit different in that regard than some of the other episodes we've seen because there were some like epic set pieces in this episode. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. I thought it was interesting watching them try to solve a murder mystery that we were aware of. So you're seeing that difference between what the characters know versus what we know. So we know who the killer is, and we know a little bit about why she's like what she's doing, though we don't know why. So we're not party to that mystery, but still seeing then uh, Riker and Crusher and Data trying to figure out the mystery on their own. Um, yeah, I thought the episode was entertaining. I thought it kept my attention. Felt like it went by pretty quickly too. I wasn't constantly checking how much time was left and being shocked that there was still 26 minutes remaining. It yeah, just I felt like they fit a lot into the time they had for the episode. I enjoyed it. Nate?
Meh. I honestly didn't rate it that much lower than you. It's certainly better than the price.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting story. A little, maybe a little bit predictable. Um, I just find that I don't like flirty Riker that much. And it's just like instant. He's, Kirk gets a lot of grief for being the,
A
yeah, the
hornball.
womanizer. And honestly, there aren't a ton of examples of that in the original series where that happens. Like there are a few, but it's not dramatic. And Riker is like a new level of that. And sometimes it's just like, hey man, like you just beamed aboard the leader of a planet and you've been in her quarters for 15 seconds and you're already hitting on her personal chef. Like in front of her.
And insisting she make you
Yeah.
dinner.
Like in front of the leader of this planet.
Well, and there's a little bit of the like, is she free or is she kind of a slave kind of? Like,
Yeah, it's really hard to tell, right?
are you soliciting a vulnerable person here, sir?
It's just I don't
A little bit?
I don't love that side of him. I love Riker in general, and just when he does stuff like that, it just I think it takes away
Weird.
from the character because I think in general he is a very noble, upstanding human being, except for when they
Hmm.
decide he needs to hit on somebody, and then he becomes
Yep.
the creepy guy at the bar. I
Yep.
just don't love that. Beyond that, I mean, I think the story was okay. I, it was fine. I mean, I give it a 6. It's not an episode that I will remember about a month from now. Like if you said later, "Hey, what was the Vengeance Factor about?" I would probably go, "Yeah, I remember the title. I don't remember anything about it."
Oh, but you will.
Oh boy,
You
this is
have
the
a
one I forgot.
connection.
Oh, I'm
You have a
excited now.
connection to this episode, Nate.
Okay, okay, Abby, say your piece because I need to hear this.
I gave it a 7.
Okay.
Same exact reason that Nate gave it a 6. My only note I wrote down on it was so we had a DNSX episode, so now Will needs one, obviously. So that's what it felt like. They had to just kind of fill in that next piece there. I thought it was awkward. I thought it was just not didn't add to the storyline, just was weird. Um, I thought the actual premise of the biological virus like that was interesting. I thought it was interesting commentary on um, feuding like that. That's not unknown to our societies to have feuds for generations like that and just how crippling it can be. And I was intrigued by her just, I have to do this. I don't want to, like, even if I don't want to do it, that you could offer me something better. I have to do this. This is the only thing I live for. So that was compelling. I mean, predictable, yes, but compelling. And I thought it was really sad that he had to shoot her at the end, even though he shouldn't have been trying to date her to begin with. But him shooting her was really like that was hard as far as that character goes, because he's like Picard. He doesn't like to shoot people. He likes to negotiate down and he's clever about it. So having to actually be the person to pull the trigger on someone who's unarmed, that would have been hard for Riker.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah.
7.
All right. So with that, one thing I thought of in this one was we've got 2 of the 3 episodes we watched this week have some reference to, for lack of a better term, we'll call it maybe a blood feud, where her family and everyone in her tribe was murdered by this other tribe. Worf's parents were killed by Romulans. Is there a difference between Worf's unwillingness to help the dying Romulan and Utah's quest for justice, as she might call it? Is there a difference?
Hmm. Oh, it's, I mean, the main differentiator, I won't say it's a difference, is the active versus the passive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Worf let him die. Yuta actively sought out the
But
death.
is the net result the same?
The net result is the same. Like I can say, it's not a difference.
Yep.
It's a differentiator.
Yep.
It's the physical difference between the two scenarios. It
Yeah.
is it says it implies nothing about the moral
There
implications of the two. Right?
that's what I was getting at though with that question of it's the difference of the passive versus the active in what they were doing. But in a way, the way Worf was passive was kind of active because it
Sure.
wasn't just I didn't do this, it's
He actively
I
didn't.
actively did not do this.
Yep.
Um so
That's an
yeah,
interesting tie-in that I had not thought about. It's because we like Worf and we don't like Yuta, I think is
yeah,
what it comes down to.
right.
Which is also, frankly, I mean, a reflection of the human, right? I mean, this happens all the time. We
Hmm.
we root on when bad things happen to people we dislike, and we feel bad when bad things happen to people we do like, right?
I think they call that tribalism.
I think you're right. But it's true,
Yeah.
right? So here's a version of that as a viewer, right?
Yep.
That
Exactly.
we are totally okay with Worf's decision. Not a single person is holding that decision against him.
Hmm.
I guarantee you there's not a person on this planet that stopped watching Star Trek because of that act.
Hmm.
There's probably people that were unhappy with it, but no one stopped because of that act.
Yep.
And versus, we were all like, yeah, whatever. She
Yeah.
that's
So
that's
she's the
wrong.
bad guy in this
Yeah.
episode.
Yep.
She's the villain,
Yep. It
not
just
not the people who look like they're straight out of Mad Max.
Yeah, there's a quote that I think about every once in a while. It's we're all the villain in somebody's story.
Hmm.
Um, she's the villain in our story, right? Worf
Hmm.
was not the villain, so he gets a pass.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I had not thought about that.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So the connection, Nate, that you have to this episode, I started
Yep,
a few of the actors in this episode looked a bit familiar to me.
yep,
Broll, I thought looked a bit familiar. Turns out I really haven't seen him in anything. He's just kind of that just had that look of somebody who you think you might have seen in stuff.
yep.
Um, And then Chorgan, I think if that's how it's pronounced, he seemed familiar too, and I did recognize him from one of my favorite movies from the late 90s, The Negotiator.
Yeah.
And he is the shitty FBI negotiator that they bring in when Samuel L. Jackson's Danny Roman is demanding that he will only talk to Chris Sabian. They bring in Farley, who tells him no, and then he starts going off about how you never tell a hostage taker no. So he's the completely overwhelmed, really, really bad negotiator until Chris Sabian can come in and start talking to Danny Roman and get through that amazing late 90s action movie. Um, but then I'm looking through seeing the other actors and actresses in it, and Sovereign Maruk, born
Okay.
and raised in Minnetonka, Minnesota, and a 1960 graduate of Minnetonka High School.
Uh-uh.
Yep.
Too funny.
You graduated from Minnetonka, right, Nate?
I sure did. Not in 1960, but I sure did.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah. Yeah,
Because I don't think
that's
I've seen her really in anything else. I'm looking. Yeah,
no, I didn't recognize her from anything else that jumped out.
she's been in a
Um,
lot of just like random movies and like random TV shows.
yeah. And then she died, I think, in
It's like 2001.
yeah, 2001.
Oh,
But yeah.
it's a small
Uh
world.
yeah, just kind of funny.
That is too funny.
Yeah.
Who does,
So I thought that was a fun little
that is a fun little connection. I
a
like it a lot.
little connection to
Why
Star
not?
Trek. You didn't know that you were an alumni of the same school as a Star Trek actor.
Well, I mean, that just makes me immediately cooler, right?
Yeah,
Just
something like that.
walked a hallway that she probably walked at some point, although that high school has had more remodels than, yeah. Um, but it probably happened.
But yeah, so I thought that was a fun little connection that doesn't really mean anything at all. But now you will
That's
remember this episode because you'll just be like, there was an
100%.
episode and I knew I wasn't going to remember it, and now I remember it forever.
That's fair. You gave me a reason to remember this episode.
Yep, and now you're going to bump it up to a 7 just like we did.
I'm not, but I will remember this episode.
Yeah. Um, yeah. It yeah, overall I thought it was just a good it was a I think this is another one where I would say it was a fine episode. Better than okay, not great. So I'm kind of using fine and good interchangeably because we're reaching a point where it seems like we're just having a lot of just generally solid episodes that I don't want to rate poorly because I don't need to have some average of that I'm aiming for, and it's okay for them to have just a bunch of better than okay episodes. And
Well,
that's kind of where I put this one. I thought it was better than okay, but it wasn't like anywhere near the enemy.
but I think that's what you see with Next Gen,
Yep.
which is it is very, very, very even keeled
Hmm.
in terms of the quality of the episodes. There are certainly spikes up in valleys down, but it's very even keeled. Like you know that you're going to get something that, well, not perfect, is solid in
Hmm.
almost every single episode. Like you
Yeah.
can pick a random episode and not hate it, um, statistically speaking
Hmm.
versus the original series, where I think you frankly have maybe a 1 in 3 chance of picking an episode and being like, yeah, or maybe 50-50, because certainly some of the second season was okay, but not great.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's fair.
and the third season just being awful generally. So maybe you have a coin flip on original series of whether you're gonna like the episode or not. Whereas much higher chance in next gen, just from the how stable they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but yeah, even with thinking it was good or fine, not a whole lot really noteworthy for discussion in this one. I think
Not
I
really.
may have been I may have been kind of drawn in by the set pieces they had and just the scope of the episode and that it was bigger than many of the episodes we've watched. It
Mhm.
felt it had a scope that was maybe closer to some of the movies, but thankfully they didn't draw it out into a movie. This is one that I could see them trying to make a movie that we would have
Yep.
watched and been like, that was a terrible movie, would have been a good episode.
Yep.
And that's I think kind of what we got with this. It was yeah, I thought it was a fun episode to watch and then yeah, just them solving that murder mystery and watching them go through that and figure out when they figure out that she is there in the background from 53 years earlier and she looks like she's in her 20s and just that moment where we all know and have put together at least those pieces.
Mhm.
I thought that was it was well done.
I,
Yeah.
I I will say I do like, and this is one of those episodes, but I do like the episodes that kind of have that down moment at the end, that
Hmm.
it's not really a happy ending.
Right.
Riker, Abby, to your point earlier, Riker is not enthralled with how this turned out.
Hmm.
And you get that scene in 10 Forward where Picard is talking about how he's going to, offer extended shore leave to the crew that, their next mission doesn't require a full complement and, so people can stay behind on a star base to get some extended shore leave, heavily implying that Riker should be one of those people.
Hmm.
And you just get I'll pass that along to the crew, sir. And that's just, they kind of, fade to black there. Like
Yep.
it's just that is a pretty powerful moment in this episode. And I like
Yeah.
those. It's reminiscent of like the end of City at the Edge of Forever, where
Hmm.
Kirk's like, let's get the hell out of here.
Yep.
Or the very end of, is it the Menagerie, where he's in the courtroom and he's just by himself and he's just silent, just pacing the room and it just fades out.
I think that's the end of part one of the menagerie.
Okay. Just I like those. I
Yeah.
not everything is going to have a happy ending, and that's okay. And we need to lean into that. Like, usually they save the day. And in this case, they saved the day, but it came at a cost.
Well, and I think stuff like that gives the show some weight. It gives it some meaning because it's not oh God, we used a phrase for it before. What do we call it? Um I gotta look it up because I wrote it down. We used a phrase to describe some of the episodes. Hang on, I'll find it here. It we called them junk food episodes.
Mhm.
Like junk food episodes are that's fun. It's funny, visually fun to look at, fun to watch, but there's not much, there's no substance to it. And with these ones, yeah, that was a powerful ending to that episode by Riker sitting there having to deal with the weight of what he did. And he made the choice. I mean, Jorgen could have really been the villain in this episode, and we don't know,
Yep.
but Riker couldn't just let her go and kill him, which is
Right.
what she was going to do. So he made that decision and has to live with it. And showing the weight of that decision on him, it was a fantastic way to end it, even if it's not like, oh yeah, everything's great and happy now. Um,
And
again,
I
just
would
really well executed.
well, and when the goal of, the diplomatic effort of this episode is the reunification of the main society with this offshoot. All of that dissolves if Riker lets you to
Hmm.
kill Shogun. Like it so right decision, wrong decision, like you can debate all of that, but for sure it wouldn't have happened.
Right.
I mean, again, they go back to the episode with the chorus. What the hell that was the name of the episode? Like, um, very th that those diplomatic talks were destroyed by that attack, right?
Hmm.
And it was only through, his insistence that he keep going that he managed to theoretically pull it back together. We don't know. He just stayed there in an effort to try and fix it. But in
Yeah.
in that regard, like there is no way um that this wouldn't cause serious problems with that reunification effort. I think you're trying to look it up too at the same time.
Yeah.
Home soil? No. Maybe? God, that's gonna bug me.
I can't find it in that book.
No, not home soil. Sorry. That was not season two. It could not have been season two, right?
Loud as a Whisper. Fifth episode of the second season.
Okay, it was season two. All right.
Oh, that's why I didn't have notes in
Man,
that book. It was, sounds like, yeah, the translator's the chorus. Yep. Loud as a Whisper. I just
okay,
Googled which
that's the
episode of
one.
Next Gen had the chorus.
I could have probably just thrown that in the chat GPT and been done with it. So, um, anyway, yes. The other thing I noticed, and it has nothing to do with the episode, but I noticed it in this, and then I noticed it in some other things. Like I said, I've been rewatching DS9. It's just a thing that I've never noticed. But early in the episode, Picard says, I don't think he's on the bridge at the time, but he messages up. Yeah, he's in sickbay, and he says, "Mr. Crusher, set course for the Airmarks or the Akamar system," and that's it. And I was like, okay, you've set a course. How fast? Like usually it's set a course for so and so, warp 7 or
Hmm.
maximum warp or whatever. And then it came up in another episode of DS9 where they were going somewhere and they set a destination but no speed. And it made me wonder if there is like an unspoken like default speed. Like if you don't say how fast you want to go, it's warp 5,
Hmm.
whatever it is. And I know it's just a writing thing that they forgot to put it in there, but it just came out two or three times in a short,
Yeah.
like 3 day window. And I was like, why? What would be a plausible reason for this?
So,
Oh, it's just
yeah.
a thing.
So, uh,
One,
on a directing standpoint, so I'm reading some like behind the scenes stuff here. So
Yeah.
Bond explained why Picard, Patrick Stewart, seemed to have no reaction when Riker vaporized Yuta. And he said, regarding Picard, I'm afraid the reason for his lack of reaction is opticals. He couldn't move for that one period when she gets vaporized. In retrospect, maybe it was the kind of mistake, maybe, maybe it was kind of a mistake of mine. I just had this idea that it would be really neat that when she's vaporized, Picard was there in the shot. That meant putting several layers of elements into the shot, and in order to get it to work properly, Picard had to stay still. Not a good reason. When I saw it, I actually regretted the decision, but by then the ship had sailed. Believe me, Patrick noticed too. He even asked, I'm just supposed to sit here and do nothing? The other problem is, what could he do? We knew Riker had to kill the girl, and we didn't want to get Picard shot by the phaser. In retrospect, what I should have done is what you usually do. Don't have him in the shot. If he's not, then the audience doesn't think, why didn't Picard react? I had a lot of rationales at the time, but they were wrong. Overall, though, I'm really proud of the episode.
Yeah, it
I
was
didn't really
a
think of that, but now I'm definitely gonna be on.
It is weird to think about. Like, I don't necessarily realize it either, but now I'm like, oh, yeah.
it was an ambitious episode, and a lot of times when they try to do stuff like that, when they, I guess when any show tries to do something that is, say, more ambitious than the average of what they've done, it doesn't necessarily work out. This time I thought it did pretty well. Um, yeah, we did learn a couple things in this. Apparently, the Federation, or at least Starfleet, uses Celsius for their temperatures
Yep.
because he got a glass of water 5 degrees. Either that or he asked for a block of ice. Um,
You got liquid, so I'm gonna
yep,
assume Celsius.
yep. So they use Celsius. Yeah. It was interesting seeing Picard not just being diplomatic, but being a mediator and like facilitating diplomacy, not necessarily doing it himself. Um, and how he tells them, or when he's talking to Riker about going down to the planet, and he says, "For these negotiations to succeed, I must be a mediator, not an enforcer." I thought that was just it was good Picard um, interactions, good Picard just stuff in this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We ready for a little bit of trivia?
Yeah.
There's a
Sure.
few interesting ones with this one. Not a ton. Again, these episodes have all been very just light in general on trivia. So, the first one is the Federation science outpost attacked by the Gatherers just prior to the episode used a large scenic background painting originally from Forbidden Planet, the movie. The
Hmm.
painting is a planetscape seen through the window of the station. This episode marks the reported meeting of Marina Sirtis and her future husband, Michael Lamper. He is not included in the credits as he was only an extra.
Hmm.
Volnath's armor is made of recycled Borg costuming from Q Who,
Hmm.
which you could kind of see, right? He kind of looks like a Borg.
Mm-hmm.
The Gatherer's ship studio model is a reuse of the Mondor from Samaritan Snare. It's the same ship. It's got the little crook nose at the front of it.
Hmm.
You'll learn to recognize it. It doesn't go away. And I think not that this is super interesting, but it does kind of mark a milestone in our watching of the show. This is the last episode that aired in the 1980s in the US.
Hmm.
Means the next episode starts in aired in 1990 something,
Wow.
like January of 1990, I would guess.
Yeah.
So we've gone all the way from the 60s to the 90s,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we still got to get to freaking 2025.
Yep. We'll get there.
We will.
Yeah. I don't really have
I mean,
much else on this one.
I think I'm good. Abby?
I'm
Yeah.
good.
Oh, she
Shall I
has.
leave you with a funny quote?
Please.
Sure.
Captain, I'm detecting life readings from the planet's surface, as well as several small areas of thermal radiation and carbon dioxide emissions, indicative of combustion. Campfires data. Is that not what I said?
I love that line too. That was probably the funniest
That
line
was good.
of the
That
whole
was good.
episode.
The only the better one, we'll end with this one, is your ambushes would be more successful if you bathed more often.
Hmm.
I
Says
forgot about
Worf
that
to
one
one of the
too.
gatherers.
You guys reek. Get some deodorant. All right. What's next
Hold on.
week?
I do want to go back a little bit. I did enjoy some of the conversation between Broll and Wesley. Uh,
Yeah. Yep.
when when Wesley's just like he's
Stop
asking
talking to
him
me, man.
questions, kind of blowing him off, and he's talking. Broll's asking him about math, and he says, "You don't like me." Wesley says, "I didn't say that." Broll says, "No problem. I have many friends that don't like me." And just oh, and then it says you're a thief, and he says, "I do it to survive, not because I enjoy it. We value our freedom. We do as we want, and we answer to no creature." Um, but then I also liked when they were talking and Brule tells him like set this course and he's just like that'll take us through an asteroid field and
Where's your sense
then
of adventure?
yeah and he's just like what you can't handle like flying through there. He's just like well we can go around it and it'll only cost us 12 minutes and Brule says have it your way kid. He's just like pussy.
Whatever.
I felt like he was just calling Wesley a total puss.
Well,
Like,
Brill is a blunt object, right?
yep,
There's no nuance or subtlety to anything he does,
yeah,
whereas the Federation is the exact opposite, and Wesley is the extreme embodiment of the Federation.
yeah. Well, and I thought it was also seeing Wesley almost I don't know if he had a full change of heart about Brol, but had kind of a realization like he not everything is as it seems when they continued that
Yep.
conversation in 10 forward. And Brol says that he wants something better for himself and for his children. And Wesley's just like, you have children? Just shocked at that. And I don't know. I thought that was just I enjoyed that conversation and that part of the episode where
It was fun.
yeah, it was good. So that's what I got for this one. So
Yeah.
next time we'll
Well,
be watching episodes 10, 11, and 12, The Defector, The Hunted, and The High Ground.
which is 6 episodes in a row that begin with the, by the way,
Yeah, yeah.
and then we'll break that. But I will say, just because Abby's on the call, like I said, I've been rewatching DS9, and I am super excited to get there. And I did it because I probably shouldn't do this. It's the only Star Trek podcast I listen to on purpose. But there's um, a podcast with two of the guys from Voyager where they went and rewatched all of Voyager. So it's kind of like the Office Ladies, but for Star Trek, right? And so they finished Voyager and kind of went, well, what now? And so they decided, well, we've never watched DS9, let's watch DS9. And so they got two of the actors from DS9 to join as co-hosts. And now the four of them are rewatching DS9. Um, and it has given me a whole new appreciation for that show. Uh, like watching episodes and then hearing them talk about the episodes as they were filming them and like the different parts and things like that. And I love Next Gen. I will always love Next Gen. I am so ecstatic to get to DS9. Like I just can't. I can't wait.
Nice. And yeah, what did we say? DS9 started what in season 6 of Next Gen, or was it in season 7?
I believe it was 6, but we'd have to double check.
I've got it marked down. I've got it somewhere.
Yeah, I don't have the whole air date schedule in front of me.
I've got
Um,
up through like a good chunk into Voyager. I don't think I've got all the way out to I don't think I've got all the way out to Enterprise yet.
Well, it gets a lot easier after DS9 is done.
Yeah.
Because everything's sequential. Like you finish on Voyager, when Voyager's done, at some point they start Enterprise. Enterprise runs, then there's a big long break. There's some movies in there. And then you get to, the modern era of Star Trek, and they didn't ever have two shows running at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, watch a season of one, you watch a season of the other, you watch a season of the
Yep.
third, go back to the first. Like, it'll be a little easier.
Yeah. So, had a typo there. Yeah, so we'll have finished season 3, we'll watch all of season 4, watch a chunk of season 5, and then we have The Undiscovered Country.
Hmm.
And then it is after season 6, episode 11, we will have uh 6 episodes of DS9, and then it'll go kind of every other for a
Okay.
bit, and then 2 and 2, 2 and 2, kind of like that. Um, through there, and then a bunch of DS9 once we're into end of season 2 into season 3, and then season 3 of DS9 is where Voyager starts.
That would be interesting. I know
So,
I watched them all at the same time. Like I watched all of these shows as they aired, probably from season 6 of Next Gen on all the way through. And I don't have any memory of what it was like to watch like DS9 and Voyager in the same week, like two
mhm.
different episodes. No recollection of this.
And that's why we do what we do. Well, there you go. As I mentioned at the top, when we recorded this, we thought it was our 50th episode. Oops. There's nothing quite like your 51st episode to take time to reflect on 50 podcast episodes, so here you go. I have been a fan of podcasts since years before they were popular. Back when you had to describe them as kind of like on-demand radio on the internet. Back when you had to download the podcasts on iTunes on your computer and transfer them to your iPod. I remember listening to the old 2+2 Poker Cast for years and getting caught up through the backlog, but going backwards because just listening to whatever episode was on top was easier than trying to sort or navigate to the bottom on those old iPods. I listened to the conclusion of the Ultimate Bet online poker scandal and then heard the story of how it was uncovered. It was like the memento of poker podcasts. But I've been a fan for years. I've had times where I listened religiously to certain shows, many shows. I listen a bit less now, but have still found my way back to some of them. Pocket Casts tells me that since January 2nd, 2017, I have listened to 163 days and 16 hours. Due to variable speed listening, it's like I've listened to an additional 162 days and 7 hours. Not that you necessarily care, I just want to show I love podcasts. In high school, Abby and I were in our school's chamber choir, and every spring concert included a medley or some kind of themed arrangement. One year, it was a broadcast from SRO, Standing Room Only, radio. I acted as the announcer, calling out the next acts and songs. It was a collection of vaudevillian, big band style pieces from the 30s and 40s. Maybe people were just blowing smoke up my ass, but more than one person told me I had a good radio voice. Now, I never got into radio per se, but apparently those comments have stuck with me nearly 25 years later. Back then, I didn't care for my speaking voice. In editing these podcast episodes, though, I don't quite mind it anymore. I think I speak better than I did when we started. I enjoy that I actually get to use that, quote, radio voice a little bit. I wanted to do a podcast for years, but never had the reason or the subject. Then we saw that little lizard in St. Lucia, and here we are. I still love the podcast medium. About 4 years ago, Abby and I picked up and moved across the country. The podcast has given us the opportunity to stay in touch and get closer with old friends we left back in Minnesota. It has given me reason to watch 158 episodes of Star Trek and 6 Star Trek movies, with so much more to come. So I just want to thank you all for joining me on this voyage through Star Trek, spending some time listening to our silly conversations. If you're watching along with us, next time we will be discussing the next 3 episodes of Next Generation Season 3, The Defector, The Hunted, and The High Ground. If you enjoy what we're doing, please do us a favor and share with a friend. Also, leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast app. You can find us on X at BaldlyGoPodcast, to BaldlyGoPodcast on Facebook, and to BaldlyGoPodcast.com. You can also find me at aaronemery.net. Nate and I have another podcast, The InLap, in which we discuss the current Formula One season. Listen to The InLap in your favorite podcast app. For Abby and Nate, this is Aaron reminding you to never give up, never surrender. Fast and Furious 9 was absurd for a Fast and Furious movie.